Welcome to What Series 14, and this is number 2, and we are looking at the book of Genesis. It says right at the beginning, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Yeah, the creator type person is identified as God. Now, there's different words for that in different languages and different words that are actually used in the Bible, but it's God. And it is a generic term for God, just as we have God as our one word, it's the generic term for God. It's the God of the fathers and the God of the covenant of Israel and Sinai and all of that. And in the proper context of understanding chapter 1 and verse 1, the whole book of Genesis and the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, they identify God as the creator. The crucial distinction is introduced between God of the fathers and gods of the nations, other words, idols. This verse also explains the origin of all that exists in the universe, affirming that God alone is eternal and that all else owes its origin and existence to him. Yep. Now, it says there that God created. Yep. In other words, God made everything happen. Perhaps the word means he created out of absolutely nothing, which is the term ex nihilo. But definitely this word means it's God's creative action. This word is only used in relation to God's creative power. The different word would be used for me or you being creative or making something. It says there also that in the beginning, it's in the beginning of what? In the beginning of God? No, the beginning of his creation. There is no mention that is the only creation either. Remember that, keep that in the back of your mind. The term beginning marks the starting point of a specific duration, namely the beginning of the story of God and his people. So it says God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis is about what God did. It's not about how. So I will rarely go into the possibilities of the creation process. I'm a theologically minded person. I am not a scientist. It is not my place to evaluate the creation format. But it is my place to lead us through what God is saying to us from these verses. The Bible is written for us to get closer to God. So if you have a different view from me or from other people who you might talk to about it, that's okay, good, talk about it. But please use the Bible as your basis of discussion and belief. That's really important. Another thing is that the Bible does not set out to say how God created, not even why. It just says God did. The Jewish mind is more orientated to why than the Greek thought process, which is what we've developed and which is how. We tend to ask how. Jews tend to ask why. Yet God just did. This series is about God and his dealing with us, not about the nitty-gritty of creation, evolution, and a whole heap of other things. Firstly, through the people he first communicated to, how we glean information about God from the resources that we have in the Bible. So, in the beginning, God did. He created. The question is not how or why, as I've said, but what does that mean to us when we read that? What does it tell me about God? Well, there's a couple of things here that I've got out of it as I've looked through it. To start with, God created time. The beginning of the world creates in us an image of a timeline. This is the beginning of time as we know it. God created time, not only the physical stuff, but the concept of time. Before this point, God was, but time wasn't. He didn't need time. He's outside of that. Psalm 90 and verse 4 says, "For 1,000 years in your sight are like a day that has just gone by, or like the watch in the night." We get an inkling here where God sits in time. He's the creator of it, the instigator of time, and he has control of it, and he sits outside of it, some people would say. Here's some questions for you. Does God see time as a line like we do? Or does he see it as a picture? Is he capable of seeing the future? Is he capable of being in the present, the future and the past? Now that's really weird, isn't it? No, this isn't about Doctor Who. This is about God. What limitations do we place on him because of our own perspective of time? The other thing is, God must be huge. Here are big concepts, and with them some big words that aren't really hard to understand. Theologically, we use terms like omnipotent, all-powerful, omnipresent, which means all presence, which that's everywhere, or omniscient, all-knowing. That's how we describe God theologically. This guy, John Polkinghorne, thinks God potentially created and knows everything, including every incident that did happen, but as well as that, every possibility that could have happened. That's like a pool table full of balls. God knows every possibility that could happen to every ball hit in any place. This is a big God. How big is our vision of God? How big is my vision of God? Is he just powerful or not really all that powerful? Is he just in one place at a time, or is he everywhere? Is he clever but not all-knowing? Or is he actually, does he know everything? If he isn't omni, then in many circumstances, most circumstances, the concept isn't biblical. And we need to stick to the biblical understanding of who God is. Thus, we're going to have a really, really good look at Genesis. Have a think about some of those things this week. Bless you.